Was Farfa's latest vid a delayed April Fool's, or does he unironically defend floodgates? Farfa defended floodgates? No way. No chance. Hold up. I was wrong about this.
In what can only be described as a freak.
What is this? What are these colors? Do I have to wear like 3D glasses from 1999?
It turns out that I think I've been wrong about something, actually, and it's gonna really shock and surprise you, despite how vocal I've been about this in the past, but I think I've definitely softened my touch on this, and I've got a different perspective to share with you on something.
What is the sauce?
I think I've sort of reevaluated how I view stun, and I think it's going to shock and surprise you to say that I think I'm pro floodgate now. That's crazy to think.
Bro, okay. Okay. Chat, I'm gonna out this man. Before Farfa was Farfa, do you know what Glasgow YGO, what that Glasgow YGO was known for? A lot of people are gonna say he was known for Infernity, but that is wrong. The first competitive deck that Glasgow YGO played was none other than Evil Swarm. He was a summon Ophion, set some floodgates, protect the castle ass player. This doesn't surprise me from him because he's going back to his roots. Watch this. 10 years ago, locals, Evil Swarm deck profile, April 2014. 10 years ago.
What's up, YouTube? I'm coming here today with an Evil Swarm deck profile. April
This
ban
is
list
so
and
old.
post Primal Origin. I wanted to do this deck profile because I'm going to sell them tomorrow.
I want to do this deck profile because I'm selling this deck.
I mean, the deck does get a lot of hate, but honestly, I think that it is definitely like one of the most versatile, and I don't think it's as autopilot as people make out.
I think the deck is versatile and not autopilot. Normal Rescue Rabbit, summon 2 Evil Swarms from the deck, overlay Ophion, Ophion search, set, pass. This deck is very skillful, made for very good players. Ophion pass is not autopilot, I promise. So anyways, this is the context of where Farfa's origins are. I just wanted to let that be known. I've just outed my friend as a stun Andy from day one, buddy. Talk to
about
me.
floodgates, and that's kind of like the main issue that I wanted to bring up, because I think that over time I've sort of changed my view on what this deck is for and what the purpose is. I want to present to you 3 different kinds of floodgates to really get your brains whirring and thinking about this, because generally the average go-to consideration of the Yu-Gi-Oh player is floodgate bad and floodgate unga bunga.
Floodgate bad and Floodgate Unga Bunga, I agree. So here's the big thing, right? I think that the reason why floodgates exist in the game, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, is because it's like a carrot on a stick thing, right? More often than not in Yu-Gi-Oh, if you pair a bad player against a good player, more often than not, the good player will win. Floodgates are cards that are very low skill required in order to win a game if you are a less good player. I think that these cards exist in the game specifically to appeal to players that either don't play as often or aren't as good at the game, because they allow them to take wins off of players that are better than them, and without those floodgates, that better player would win 99% of the games that they would play. I think that is the logic behind why floodgates exist. Do I agree with that philosophy? No. So I'm curious to know if this is the argument Farfa's going to bring up.
Now, the first deck I wanted to show you is the 4th place Duelist Cup deck list from March 2025. The Duelist Cup just gone by, where all of these top pro players across the world stream themselves.
Tell me this is skillful. Please, Farfa. Please. Tell me this is skillful.
Going through this masochistic style torture chamber where essentially they're drip feeding themselves into oblivion by having to sit and play Yu-Gi-Oh! For 72 hours. Snake Eye mirrors at that as well, can you imagine? And this was one of the brave heroes out there that decided to take it to the man and show them just exactly how Yu-Gi-Oh! Was supposed to and intended to be played. That's probably about as good as you can get for a modern stun deck, in the sense that you are playing basically no real win condition other stopping your opponent from playing the game and then decking them out. That's essentially what this deck is. It's turboing your opponent into having no more cards left.
I'm gonna be real. Why the fuck is Macrocosmos in there? Wait just a goddamn. Why is Macrocosmos in your runic deck? You know what's the crazy thing about this, right? I think that for the Duelist Cup specifically, these decks are good because the Duelist Cup is a format that time is a resource, right? How many games you end up playing is a resource. And the problem, right, is if you like queue into a deck like this and they skill drain, synchro zone, you Tikaboo, all this shit, you probably have outs in your deck. Is it worth your time to try to play this game out for the 20 to 40 minutes it's gonna last just to try and out it? Or are you better off conceding and just winning 2 more times? I think the answer is just fucking scoop. Go next. Don't even bother.
Why is this bad gameplay? This is bad gameplay because for all intents and purposes, fun over the course of many years of thinking and considering these type of things, we've looked at it as a way to interact.
Yes.
Usually what you'll find is when you play Yu-Gi-Oh, most fun is being had when you're interacting with your opponent, when you're trading resources, when you're capitalizing over a mistake, and when you're trying to beat your opponent down with pure raw intellect. But the reality is that in a card game, that's not always usually the case. The luck of the draw can sometimes play a large portion of your opening hand, which hand traps you've drawn for certain situations, especially with the variants offered by the amazing Macedo rank ladder that is the Mulcharmy Maxi roulette wheel, and whether or not you've drawn one of those minigame anti-Maxi slash Full.
You're not about to tell me, oh, because Maxi exists and there's the Maxi minigame that takes away skill, floodgates are okay.
I think sometimes a lot of people, and this is probably the main takeaway from this video that I want you to consider and think about, for a lot of people, the actual intricacies and specifics of the gameplay isn't necessarily the most relevant part of a duel. Sometimes the reality is that a lot of people don't actually care that much about it. A lot of people like Yu-Gi-Oh! And like playing the game and engaging in the game, and sometimes, here's the thing, this is one of the easiest, simplest ways to engage with the game. There isn't really a lot of forethought here, there isn't really a lot of planning, and
what is he talking about? What I gathered from what he just said is that people don't want to put a lot of thought into like deck building and building their board and combos and all this stuff and everything, but they want to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Therefore, they play stun because they do not need to think about all those things to play Yu-Gi-Oh! My counter argument is that if you go set 4 pass, and then on your opponent's turn you go Tikaboo, Skill Drain, Goes in Match, Synchro Zone, you're not playing Yu-Gi-Oh!
What you're trying to do here is essentially just access the metagame. I mean, if you're able to get 4th place in the DC Cup, clearly you are someone who is well more invested than
the Duelist Cup.
The average player. But for the average player, taking a deck list like this and playing against, Snake Eye on ladder, for example, is probably one of the few ways in which they can blow off some steam and actually enjoy and play modern competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! It's interesting to me because ultimately, a lot of this discussion and discourse on Floodgate versus Combo usually kind of boils down to the antithesis between these two different concepts. Floodgate, Combo, and everything in between. Now, usually why that occurs is because overbearing wombo combo crazy decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! All the things that you're accustomed to in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Bell, Snake Eye, multiple negates, crazy end boards,
they are
37-minute
overbearing.
no-joke turns, etc., etc. This is something that many of you have become accustomed to with the description of competitive card gaming Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is a lot of the criticisms that people hold at this game. One of the answers to this type of gameplay is to do something like this, which I suppose really is to just have a unshackled type of approach to engaging with competitive Yu-Gi-Oh!, and that is...
He's probably trying to appeal to, like, the people that don't play the game as often and want to beat meta, because, like, let's be real, no one likes to lose to a meta deck. Anytime you queue into a meta deck and you're not going into it with, like, a competitive mindset, you'll queue into a meta deck and you'll hate it. Like, it's not fun. Personally, myself, like, I'll go to locals, and even though I'm playing some shitty-ass Melodious deck, I go into it with the mentality of, I'm trying to beat these meta decks. I want my shitty Melodious deck to be as competitive as it can be, so I don't get, like, upset playing against Ryziel or Malice or whatever, unless they're like sack me or whatever, then I'll get pretty upset. But I don't get like upset because someone is activating, not a Melodious card, like a Ryziel card or something like that, But I think what Farfa's trying to say is he's like appealing to those players that like get upset when they play against meta, which I can understand. But like, is this really the answer? I think it's those people, like weird, twisted, sadistic individuals that go, fuck you and your fucking stupid ass meta deck. I want you to suffer because you're playing meta. Like, I'm sorry, that's like the thoughts a sociopath has. The average stun player doesn't do it because they're enjoying it. They get enjoyment from knowing and having that thought that their opponent is actively having a bad time, which I'm not gonna lie is kind of fucked up.
This might come across as a old boomer trying to enlighten you onto the concept.
Unk. All I'm gonna say, is put the fries in the bag. Play Edison if you want something slower. Okay, just
of floodgates. And my main argument here isn't necessarily driven specifically by the gameplay. It's kind of about, again, most important of all, accessibility and budget, but also I suppose that third point, and that is the antithesis of some of the more lackluster, unenjoyable aspects of Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, a lot of people just want to slow the game down, and I think I've highlighted that pretty well with all the Snake Eye examples, but some people just don't want to play games like that. Some people want to play games of a couple of actions here and there, set...
Okay, play Lab. Play Labyrinth. Slow the game down, play Lab. Play Dinomorphia. Play a trap deck. You want to slow the game down? Play a deck that slows the game down. But there's a difference between slowing the game down and halting the game.
Now, you could argue in that case, well, just go freaking play Go format or something, or Edison. No one wants to sit and watch you jack off a Majesty scheme for 27 turns. That's obviously a very fair and reasonable argument. But at the same time...
Hold up. Counter argument. So instead of pressing this button over here, right? Or like, this button here, you can press this button over here. And then when you press this button over here, Look at the kind of games you get. Look at the games you get. Surely I'm gonna. My point will be proven. I will get a match. My point. I will cue it to someone. My point will be proven. See? Okay, watch this. Watch. I'm gonna get a real game. I'm gonna get a real game against a not meta deck. Watch. Look. I got a Veiler. I got Asana. My hand's playable. Cool. Opponent, please play the game. By all means. By all means, play the game, opponent. Go ahead. There's no way I'm queuing it to Runic Stun right now. There's no way I queued it to Runic Stun right now. There's no chance. It's just no. There's no way. What? Cool. And he conceded. See? Look, this was so fun. I bet my opponent came out of that game thinking, damn, I had a great time.
I think the most egregious problem with floodgates is actually not when you're playing against a deck that summons a Thunder King and sets a Crackdown. In fact, I would argue they are the most healthiest types of Yu-Gi-Oh decks, because summoning a Thunder King and setting a Mirror Force and hoping that it sticks and your opponent can't play through the Inspector board or the Fossil Diner or whatever it may be is actually a great type of, shall we say, rock, paper, scissors element of card games. Now, usually
rock, paper, scissors. I summon Fossil Diner. Do you have Imperm? No. Do you have Droplet? No. Please shake my hand. The game has ended. Thank you. Thank you. Please shake my hand. Thank you. What the fuck? Huh? He is calling just draw the out? Rock, paper, scissors. That's crazy.
Usually what you'll find is, and you can disagree with whether or not this is a good approach in terms of the design, but sometimes it's okay for decks to have weaknesses, and it's okay for decks to have strengths, and the strengths of stun being that it stops the meta decks from actually getting their engines going. And the only way to stop a meta deck, in terms of its power level, is to bring it down to your power level via the floodgates. And so the drawback there is that you're unable to actually really capitalize. You can't really do like big combos, overbearing stuff that essentially auto-wins you the game immediately. You are going to have to take multiple turns, even to just simply deal with something like a set Ash Blossom from a combo player can actually be a
Chat, I swear to God, I'm gonna lose it when the new ban list comes out on Master and Block Dragon is legal. If Farfa ever searches Fossil Dyna with Block Dragon in his Adamancipator strategy, I expect every single one of you to link him this video and go, fuck you doing, bro? Huh? That's crazy.
But going back to the sort of other issue of the gameplay here, and one of the most egregious offenders of floodgates.
Dude, I called it! What the fuck?
Is decks like this. This is a deck list that I played in Gage's Master Duel Classic Time Wizard format. Yeah, Gage makes content. Crazy, I know.
Yeah, Gage
one of the cool things about this deck
what?
For Floodgate and combo players alike, if there's a Venn diagram of that ever exists, well, they did intersect at one point, and usually what you'll find is these are some of the most degenerate ways to play the game. A crazy wombo combo style deck like this that gets out of hand, and at the end of the turn usually utilizes some sort of ridiculous play that prevents the opponent from actually engaging with the game in any shape or form.
To be fair, Dyna's nothing compared to Savage 3-Mat, Apo, Baron, IP. I disagree. Let me tell you this, okay? How many times have you played against someone and they set up 2, 3, 4, 5 interactions and you go, okay, I can beat this. Like, it's gonna be tough, but I can try. I can beat this. And then last play, they go like random floodgate you didn't expect, and now none of the cards in your hand are even activatable. I played against the fucking Chimera Fiendsmith deck. They went like summon like Apollosa, Desiree, the targeting protection and the monster effect negate guy in the grave and all this stuff and everything. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this is totally workable. And then they go, send Dark Barrier Statue, summon Dark Barrier Statue. And I'm looking at my hand of light monsters and I'm just like, well, that was fun.
A combo deck is basically a stun deck with extra steps. Further than that, when you're able to incorporate literal floodgates into combo decks, it becomes a very, very unfun type of game. A very one-sided type of duel. So usually when the powerful decks are able to utilize these things, that's when things get really egregious and really unfair. The one card combo OTKs that then lock your opponent out of the game through that first turn board with all the negating protections, backed up with Apollosa, Baron, Savage, etc., with a Buster Dragon as an example historically, and there's going to be plenty of examples. We've had Scythe Lock. I think the most important aspect to take away from this is that is not the type of thing that I'm softening up to or justifying. That is always an unfun, terrible type of Yu-Gi-Oh! To engage with. And so as another example of a deck that I don't want to say like, but I completely understand and somewhat resonate with the player base.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 floodgates in the main deck. 9. And then he's got the power of God on his side. 9 floodgates Solemn Brigade. Jesus Christ, man.
It's appealing. It's relatively simple. This one is a little bit more mid-range on the stun spectrum. You see,
no, this is not
I decided
appealing.
That I'm going to coin a new vision for stun players, and that is the monkey stun, which is the fossil dyna, and then there's the combo stun, which is the runic one that you saw, and this one is a little bit in the mid-range stun. But the absolute,
I don't think there's
most difficult variant
here.
of stun is the runic one, as I showed, because you are kind of planning and looking through the duel out of through a lens of the entire match.
He did not just say that the runic. Whoa. He did not just say that the runic stun deck is the hardest stun deck to play. Bro, I'm losing it. I'm crashing out.
You have to stun your opponent and stop them from playing the game, but then you have to be able to deck them out, not deck yourself out with things like Macrocosmos potentially locking you out of your fountain. Listen, jokes aside, the whole point that I'm trying to get across here,
yes, what's the point?
Sort of highlight to you is that I get it. Like, I get it. I understand. I know why this is appealing. I truly do resonate with the dad gamer, with the old boomer who potentially just doesn't have the gray matter capacity anymore to play Yu-Gi-Oh at those combo levels that it's kind of evolved into. Like, even just something as simple as a Salamangreat combo. That's like 50 steps.
Farfa literally just said, I'm Unk and I resonate with the Unks.
Like, you make fun of that deck, but I mean, for a lot of people, it's like, I just don't have time to learn something like this. As basic as it might seem to the average, 21-year-old student or whatever watching this video, thinking to themselves, how can you mess that up? Ultimately, I get it. I really get it. Sometimes you just don't have the time or effort to do those things.
I have a controversial take. I think that if you do not have time to invest into a hobby that is competitive, it is better to either A, not engage in said hobby, or B, engage in said hobby with the mentality of, I'm going to do something that is fun and enjoyable for myself and those around me, than it is to pick secret option C and do this. If your fun is, I'm going to pull up the locals, I'm going to Mystic Mind pass, honestly, you are better off not pulling up to the locals because you're just ruining everyone else's time. And I think it's kind of fucked up to be like, I'm going to ruin everyone else's time for my own enjoyment. I think that's a little messed up. I will admit to it. There was a time I went to locals and I played Nurse Burn FTK. Heck, I played Gem Knight FTK. I went through this phase. I went through it. Everyone goes through this phase. My fun is ruining my whale meta sheep opponent's day. That is fucked up. You realize there is something wrong in your brain if that is genuinely the thing that you're thinking. You as a human being should not be getting enjoyment out of genuinely having the thought of ruining another human being's day or time. Everyone is taking time out of their day to go somewhere to have fun and enjoy that time with other people. If what you're doing is you're going to this place because you actively want to ruin other people's time, stay home. I've met people that do this. They pull up to locals with a stun deck and they're like, oh, I don't really care if I win or lose. I'm just here to like ruin other people's day. And they mean it. And I'm like, stay home. Just stay home. Fucking watch TV or something like that, bro. It's so weird to me.
Alternatively, you could probably suggest that something like Voiceless Voice would be the entry-level point, or the simple deck that people should be playing.
Yeah, or Sword Soul, or fucking any of that, yeah.
And I kind of don't really have an issue anymore sort of with the continuous trap card style floodgate decks like these.
Voiceless Voice is not that simple. Voiceless Voice is very simple at its base, and because it is very simple at its base, anyone can play the deck.
But I hope that there aren't any of you who are playing this just specifically to watch people suffer. Okay, that's weird. Okay, don't...
Thank you! That's what I wanted him to say. I was waiting for him to say this. Yes, if you show up with a stun deck with the I am here not because I care to be here, but because I want to ruin other people's experience, fuck you. Straight up. If you're one of those people, that's weird. Don't do that. Thank you. Farfa redeemed himself. This video is now likable. It's okay to be wrong, but at least he had this opinion. Thank God.
Don't play these type of decks just so you can make someone else miserable. That would be...
Thank you.
Unless,
What are the dislikes? Dude, what the fuck? What a Beatrice man does to a PA player. You've always had wrong opinions. Having even worse ones won't affect us. We still love you. That's insane. And like, I'm not gonna lie. I think what he's saying, right? And the thing that I can kind of resonate with and like respect. Y'all saw when I played the Exodia deck, the Millennium deck. I played that Millennium deck, and what was my reaction, bro? I was like, bro, this is great. I don't have to think. I can understand that it can be enjoyable, but bro, it gets so boring so quick to me, bro. I just lose it. I go like, it's so boring. It's gotten so old. I can't do it. And it's crazy because I love a good mid-range control deck. That's the shit that I love. That's how I love my Yu-Gi-Oh, bro. Come, face me. Give in to your pride. Is that the Glasgow YGO opening?
What's up, guys? It's your boy, Distant Coder, and I'm asking you right now to like and subscribe, because if you don't, you know how your deck plays exactly 5 bricks? In your next tournament, you're going to draw all of them. But if you like and subscribe, you don't draw any. You full combo, and your opponent, they brick. Like and subscribe.
And comment.
And comment.
And comment.
And comment.
Engagement.
Ooh, engage.
Engage. Draw one.
Beautiful.
Comment, like, and subscribe.
Hey.